If it's one thing that I know for certain, it is the fact that no one wants to be the lesser representation of their more perfect self. Welcome back to The Hidden Thought.
Releasing one from the prison of their own mind. Come in, unwind. Welcome to The Hidden Thought.
I'm asking a question today. Why do people form relationships? Well, that's obvious. People form relationships because unless you are asexual, everyone needs companionship. So then, why do relationships end if so many of us actually really need companionship? Well, there are many reasons, but the basic reason is that somewhere along the way, people discover that there is a mismatch in their understanding. There is a mismatch in likes and dislikes, things that could have been figured out before two people engaged and became intimate. But in order to have an understanding of what we should be connecting ourselves to or not, we would first have to have an understanding of self and how we function. When we first come into this world, we're not even aware of our own energies. We just do things according to how our energy is designed. Again, at the moment in which we were born, no one ever in the history of time was born in that microsecond of time. And where the planets were, in relativity to the sun and the moon and the planets with each other, created a gravitational pull that was a particular energy that is you. So we talked about that on previous shows, the Zodiac and our play cousins. This is something that would have been a great help tool to most of our parents to help us figure out ourselves before we leave out of the front door into the outside world. Problem is that, again, most of our parents, they didn't even know their own energy. They just walked by what they felt and their intuitions. They let their intuitions lead them, which is not the worst thing, because whether you know your energy or not, we're all going to be tested. Life is a test. That's what we come here for, to walk the test, to see what our spirits can manifest, and then we go back home. And, for those that understand where I'm coming from, then you come back when you're ready. But knowing our own energy helps us to deal with other people's energy, to know if we should even connect with those energies. Well, when you have a situation where the majority of us on Earth, this is uncomfortable and people don't like to acknowledge this. But most of us were born to parents that did not have a plan for us to be here in the first place. We were just this thing that happened to their life where they were trying to find some good feeling for themselves. And so they did the 4 basic things to make themselves look responsible and to not look like derelicts. They made sure that they worked to put a roof over our head, put clothes on our backs, to make sure that we weren't starving, and to send us to school because it was mandated. What we learned, they were not aware of it most of the time. And so when we formulated our ideas and our politics, shaped by whomever poured that into us, they often wonder, well, where you get that idea from? Well, when did you start thinking like that? Why didn't you know, parent? So I guess we have to define what parenting actually really is. Is being a parent just the fact that you have a child? So everybody can look and see that this person looks, like a little you. And so, and you're doing these 4 basic things for them, and that's parenting? No. Without a clue, most parents say, well, you should be grateful that you have somebody to do this for you, that for you, that. That's true. We should be grateful as kids. But that's the reason why they're called children. Because children have not had the experiences to understand the responsibilities of an adult. If you want a child to understand something, you are going to have to teach the child those tenets. But parenting is more than just having a little one that looks like you. Parenting is being a steward over a child. To understand who they are through observation, not to tell them who they are before the observation, so that you understand the child's tendencies, their particular interests, their particular ways of being, so that you can shape the child into a more successful version of self before they go out of the door. To shape them into someone who will not bring shame on the home, to shape them into someone that everyone loves to see coming, unless they are simply of an opposing energy. To teach the kid what is an opposing energy, so that they can understand when they're actually doing things the right way and when something is simply out of their hands. So then, what does it mean to a child when a relationship ends after a child is made? Well, what it means is that the 2 people that came together to make this entity, they're no longer together. Therefore, that creates an imbalance. An imbalance that the child is going to feel for the rest of their lives. The male and female aspect that created them not being in the same place creates a yearning. It is normal to be able to walk out of one room and ask the feminine aspect of you a question and bounce that question off the male aspect that made you. This is what you came together to do in the first place, right? No, it was most of the time just an accident. Some births were planned. Some people really had their plan laid out. Some people had a plan laid out because it's just the way things go, but they never really tuned in to who their children were. So you get this one, renegade child that goes off and does all of these things and everything, and well, they was raised in the house with everybody else. You never really tuned in for the kids that just walk the line. You may not even know who they are. And then they go out in the world again and they suck in all of this residual information and influences. And then you wonder why this one thinks this way and that one, you never knew who they were in the first place, right up under your nose, even with both parents in the house. But surely if the parents are split after making a child, the child is going to feel it. Think about how we've normalized breakups. Mom's over here. The child is usually with mom. The child has to wait to see dad. And then when child's with dad, they have to wait to see mom.
Advertise on the Indie Hookup. You got a business, you got a service, you got a product, then you need advertising. Radio is still one of the best way to advertise to get your business, your product, your service known. We'll produce a commercial for you that you also can use on your social media. We'll even add visuals to it for your social media posts. To get your commercial done, contact us at theindiehookup@gmail.com. That's INDY hookup@gmail.com. Get your commercial done today.
Have you ever wondered what makes boys do the things that we do? Through Snakes and Snails, the reader receives an insight that allows the reader to partake in an honesty about men that has never before been shared. For the female reader, Snakes and Snails is a hidden treasure. Immerse yourself in Snakes and Snails, a view into the male mind from A to Z.
Available now on Amazon, Kindle, and Ingram Spark. Once you pick it up, you won't be able to put it down.
No one could have ever sold me on us growing apart. But I guess that's just what happens with differences of the heart. I've never loved and disliked someone so. Leaving you would kill me though. I'm dying to leave but don't wanna go. Remember when you used to love them so? You want too many years for the both of you. Love to see them coming before when they go. I know you really wanted to see them through. You love them but you really don't like them no more. Not in love anymore, you really show. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go, let it go. We ignored all the little differences. Must have been those thighs and the way that I opened every single door to your surprise. Doesn't matter because that subject unresolved makes you so mad it skips your mind. How much I really, really do love you. They love you so. Been one too many years for the both of you. I love you. Just for you so baby. I know you really wanted to see you through. I love you. You can tell they really don't like you. They ain't not in love anymore and it really shows. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. When things are going good, there's no bigger high. Always thought in your arms I would die. At first, we needed each other to get by. Now we can't seem to see eye to eye. Didn't want nobody to have none of your pie. Now you don't care and neither do I. My dreams on your tongue so often denied. Said you'd be my partner in crime, but you lied. You were turned on when I was your perv. Now I just seem to get on your nerves. Vowed that we will always be more than friends, but the unresolved will surface again. I went vegan and you're sworn to beef. You get agitated beyond belief. I don't do angry sex, I love peace. I can't do you while you grit in your teeth. Remember when you used to love them so? Been one too many years for the both of you. Love to see them coming before when they go. I know you really wanted to see them through. You love them but you really don't like them no more. Not in love anymore and it really shows. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. Couldn't stop saying they love you so. Been one too many years for the both of you. No patience for you so wouldn't let me go. I know you really wanted to see you through. If you can tell they really don't like you no more. Not in love anymore and it really shows. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. Remember when you used to love them so? Been one too many years for the both of you. Love to see them coming before when they go. I know you really wanted to see you through. You love them but you really don't like them no more. Not in love anymore and it really shows. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go. Think it's about time to let it go. To let it go. To let it go.
You are now listening to The Hidden Thought, courtesy of Just Chat with Bree on KYBN Radio.
The child is usually at home with mom. When they want to see dad, they have to wait. When they're with dad and they're yearning for mom, they have to wait. How not normal is it to have the two entities that made you not be able to get along long enough to stay with you for you to even see them together? What does it mean for a child when they never see their parents together in any affectionate way? Just handling the business of transferring the child, for visitation. Well, it's hard for the child to perceive a normalized sense of love. The child goes to school and most of their classmates' parents aren't together either. But then what happens when they do see parents who are together? When they see parents who are together, then they start to get a sense that something is maybe wrong with the way their household has been set up. When they look at TV shows and see the husband and wife in the house together, it just becomes a mystery to them. But there's nothing that the child can do about it. It's just a yearning that they have that never gets satisfied. And then they make the adjustment emotionally and they go on with life. And they grow into grown people who don't know what a proper image of love looks like for them up close before they go and connect with somebody else, because we all have the need for companionship. And then with the intimacy comes another being. Before again they themselves, the grown child now, has figured out their very own selves. So then what gets put off on the now adult is that everything you've done, you knew what you was doing. Why? Because you've grown now. Let me tell you two things, and I want you to chew on these two things. Number one, everybody is somebody's child. Everybody is a walking representation of the house that released you out into the public. Your family ways, your family traditions, your daily habits, whether you have home training or not, whether you think people recognize whether you have home training or not. There are people who do recognize it because there are people who have had home training. And number two, getting older is not the remedy. Solving the issue is the remedy. You can get older and not have any resolve in things that's been plaguing you your whole life. There are people in their 50s and 60s still dealing with unresolved issues. So if you think that getting older is the answer, getting older is never the answer. You just become a grown child. And that's why we can look out into the public and see people doing things that they're not proud of. Doing things that totally tarnish their reputation, that totally make them look like the being that they never would desire to be. So why do we normalize failed relationships? Because if we knew better, then we would do better. If we knew better, then we would simply do better. So when you see grown people out here doing things that totally does not put them in a positive light, you would think that they knew better because they're older. No, if they knew better, if they had actually been given the tenets of proper behavior by their parents while they were growing up, then they would display those proper habits. No, we don't get taught oftentimes. We get told. We get pearls of wisdom dropped on us, in short conversations, not understanding that there are a few people that are so self-determined, their spirits are so intact that they don't need much hand holding. They hear you, they got it, They know how to navigate their own path. That is not the majority of us, and the evidence is what we see out in society. Because trust me, no one wants to be the lesser representation of their more perfect self. No one wants to be less than perfect. If we could all be perfect, we'd be perfect. So when it's so hard to be perfect, because you haven't been given the tenets, of proper behavior, and you don't see how you can change it, then we have to normalize the improper behavior. Simple math. I once saw a video, couldn't be any more than a couple of years old now. There was a bunch of young adults arguing in a gas station. Most people were bystanders. There was only a few people that was arguing with each other. Whole lot of bystanders. Now we know how it is with people of low self-esteem. They need to make a statement. They need to do something to feel like somebody. So what happened? This girl, she drove through the gas pumps in order to try to hit the person she was arguing with, knocked over the gas pumps or dented it, ran out into the street with traffic moving between the traffic and flipped the vehicle over and got out arguing and fussing like what just happened didn't just happen. Now I ask you, is that an adult? Or is that somebody's grown child? Because see, that young lady, she had a mother and a father. If you ask that person's mother and father about that child, they would swear that was just her. She was always like this. She was always your child. This is what you sent out into the street. This is what you didn't pay any attention to. Every once in a while, you get a kid that just doesn't listen to anybody. The majority of times, your parent just wants you to sit down somewhere, to be still, to not make any noise, make as little noise as possible. Be self-entertained with these toys that we've got you, and don't break anything that we can't afford, to replace. And please don't make me miss any work, having to come up here and see about an emotional outbreak you're having that I should have figured out at home. No, what parents do today is they argue with the administration. It's not that a teacher can't really have it bad for a kid. With teachers and kids, there's attracting and opposing energies too. But there was a time where you didn't just take a child's word for it, because you understood that a child is a child, and a child would play on anyone's emotions they think they can get over on. But today's parent, they simply do not want to look like a deficient parent. Therefore, they will back their kid, and actually what they're really doing is trying to cover up for self. But your child's behavior speaks volumes. Nobody has to say anything. So many people today act like they're not seeing, in fact, what we're all seeing, as if nobody ever knew any better. I know the last couple of generations, they definitely could not know better, because the 911 call came in and policed their parents out of being able to even do normal parenting, single or together. You can get in trouble with the courts or go to jail for just doing the same normal parenting that our parents did. Well, no wonder you have unruly kids. And who does that benefit? The prison systems. And the psych wards, and folks that can give your kids, prescriptions and things and keep them on, prescriptions forever. They stop you from doing the parenting job that you're supposed to do so that they can control your kids. They put you in a position where the kids can control you so that they can grow into people that the establishment can control for their benefit. And if in the process they end up ending your family lineage because your child never has children, well, that could be an end plan too. They say the earth is overpopulated, which is a lie. But if that was the motivation, checkmate. Welcome to The Hidden Thought. Come with me on a deep dive into the reasons behind our motivations. The Hidden Thought is not a place for debating, for there's nothing to debate, and devil's advocates are not welcomed here. For your precious time, I simply offer my unique and different point of view that in my humble analysis, we may find the reasons why we do the things that we do. All based upon the concept that no one wants to be the lesser representation of self. In these series of introspections, the purpose is that we solve the mysteries that have kept us from getting on to the better parts of our walk. A moment to contemplate your hidden thought.
Accidents, but it is no accident our coming here. They started off lying to us, so we lied to ourselves and raised half our years. The confusion and the tears must be buzzes. But always has something to eat. Can't go wrong, will go wrong. Must will the wind out of defeat. Even when things go right, to count your blessings. I know they won't be right for too long. You're trying to die. Surprise, November's gonna leave you alive. So ask yourself why you trying to die? When no one's gonna leave you alive, you might as well give it your best try. While you still have time, make use of. You're not especially cursed, and you're surely not the worst. You just don't know who you are. Do away with your fear of failure. Shoot for the stars, but look what you've done thus far. Something's always going wrong. For someone else is going right. Everything takes too long. For someone else is overnight. Just get a taste and others take home bites. While you're watching others in mid-flight. Just get over the hump. So bear the test for another. Can you keep your word, your promise? No one cares anyway. You don't feel worth much. You're hurting till you lose your pepper. Die. Surprise, November's gonna leave you alive. So ask yourself why you trying to die? When no one's gonna leave you alive, you might as well give it your best try. While you still have time, make use of all your time. I'm sorry that no one ever told you you were good enough, but it's alright to be you. Gotta figure out what it is to love about you before you waste this unique opportunity. We're all flawed. We're just here trying to figure it out for a little while. But no one ever leaves here alive. Try to die. Surprise, November's gonna leave you alive. So ask yourself why you trying to die? When no one's gonna leave you alive, you might as well give it your best try. While you still have time, make use of all your time.
Nowhere to run to, nowhere to hide.
Your hidden thought is right inside.
Why is introspection not a more common practice? You know, the looking inward to figure out one's motivations, to refine self from the exhibition of behaviors that we hadn't been proud of in times past. Simple answer. Do you really want to find an error within self that you haven't found an immediate resolve for? Having issues with no immediate answer creates a high level of anxiety for a lot of people. People have not mastered the art of coexisting in nothingness until an answer comes. You know, to just say, I don't know right now. But life is a lesson. So somewhere along the way, it's going to come. So I'm going to keep doing what I know to do until the answer comes. Well, in the back of the mind, it could be, well, I don't want to keep doing what I was doing without having an immediate answer, because if I'm doing something improperly, then I'm going to mess up everything else that I touch. I need an answer now. So what becomes the answer to that more immediately? For most people, it's whatever I'm doing now that's right. And when things change, then that will be right. But I'm going to be in the right now. The things that I am incomplete about, that will not be part of my discussion. I will only talk about the things that I'm actually winning on. And the things that I'm not actually winning on, they're going to be right now until better times. Then I'll make an excuse for why I was doing what I was doing then. But I'm going to be in the right now. That is very dangerous. This is the reason why you must have a point of reference. Because people, in their effort to appear as the perfect version of themselves at all times, they'll move the goalpost. Without a point of reference, people can say anything that they want to say. Actually, if they can beat you up, they can say anything that they want to say. And you could know that what they're saying is a lie. But if they can physically subdue you, the lie becomes a truth. A moment to contemplate your hidden thought. For surely there is a lack of compassion in the world when considering other people's outcomes. Well, people might say, well, K.E., you don't have very much compassion. Look how you talk about these parents. Our parents were once somebody's children too. Whatever did not get completed in their cycle, they were sent out the door with the same, incomplete ideas too. They've had to live to learn, just like we're having to live to learn. The problem is that when we see people perform actions that do not put them in a positive light, we place it all on the person. My best friend, he equates the actions of people to training. So I have a question about training. Training as opposed to learning by circumstance. Training, in my understanding, is a direct and intentional action. It is when you take the child aside and you give them lessons, you give them tutelage, you give them tests, you see how they perform, you make the corrections, and then you give them a chance to do it on their own until they're doing it successfully. That's training. Most of us don't get any training. We get some. We get basic training. We get basic training. And then the rest, we learn by circumstance. Because our parents are often too busy to come to games, too busy to be, you get super parents that are totally occupied with their children. And then you get a lot of parents, boy, I can't wait until you get 18 so you can get out here and figure out what it is you're supposed to be. You don't stand a chance out the gate. You got to go out there to figure out what it is you're supposed to be. Mom, Dad, I've been in the house with you the whole time. You don't know who I am? No, you don't. And so I see that people get blamed for actions of which they had no training to. They're just grown now. Because again, if they knew better, they would simply do better. Getting older is not the remedy. Home training is the remedy. Training, period, is the remedy. When you have guests over and you've served them dinner and they bring the plate to the counter and they place the plate there and leave it, that lets you know how much home training they've had. If they place a plate in the sink and run no water in it, that lets you know that they were not taught that. If you see someone bring a plate with scraps on it and set it down in your sink, knowing that you do not have a garbage disposal, that tells you that this person did not have Flaudia Majorum as a grandmother who would teach you to take a piece of tissue and wipe off the plate into the garbage and then take that plate and set it in the sink, a drop of dishwashing liquid, water enough to fill the surface of the plate, and leave it for the person who is going to wash dishes later if you're not going to wash them immediately yourself. If you had not been walked through that, you wouldn't even be conscious to do it. My grandmother was the help. She showed me how to make a bed, how to tuck the sheets at the foot, how to do the corners, how to make sure the bedspread was even on all sides, how to tuck the pillows. It's not just seeing someone do this. If you have not been made to walk through these steps so that you know how to do it for yourself, why did my grandmother make me walk through those steps? Because she knew that one day I was going to have a place of my own, and a bed of my own, and a kitchen of my own. And if I did not display that I knew how to keep a place for myself, that was a reflection on her parenting. And she was not about to let that bad example speak for her and her training. Now, what we have today is parents that say, oh, that stuff ain't even important. It's not important that your daughter don't know how to cook for herself because you were mad at your mom for being faithful to your cheating father, because at one point your father was a young, dumb man who had to grow and learn and get over his stuff. like any other young man out here. Like young women who make mistakes also, chasing the wrong guy until they have children with them, only to walk away later and to look for a really decent guy who just wants to go to work and come home every day and do the basic things that you need a man to do. There's not a whole bunch of us that are getting this thing right. And it all goes back to what you were taught at home, or what you were failed to be taught at home. What they simply didn't teach us at all. Those are the things that we go out into the world to struggle with until we gain an understanding. A moment to contemplate your hidden thought.
The Black Nova Experience brings to you Snakes and Snails.
Have you ever wondered what makes the male mind tick? Ever wondered what makes boys do the things that we do? If so, allow Snakes and Snails to return you to your childhood where the answers to such mysteries lie. Through Snakes and Snails, the reader receives an insight into the male mind, a glimmer of thinking previously hidden from themselves in efforts to arrive at manhood with their emotions intact. For the male reader, Snakes and Snails offers a second look at one's motivations. For the female reader, Snakes and Snails is a hidden treasure that is sure to be a useful tool in establishing the relationship desired, and a major help in being a better mom to her boy child. Snakes and Snails is the first of K.E. Durham's One Male's Perspective, a narrative that allows the reader to partake in an honesty about men that has never before been shared. Immerse yourself in Snakes and Snails,
A view into the male mind from A to Z.
Available now on Amazon, Kindle, and Ingram Spark. Once you pick it up, you won't be able to put it down.
Rude and broad don't make a man. Neither what you hold inside your hand. Do you manifest the words you sell, or will you leave us with a sad story to tell? What you know is true. How you gonna handle it? What you gonna do when you point the finger? 3-point back at you. Don't matter what you do. That's just what you do. It matters what you do. Actions must come with that song you sing. You take, but what are you contributing? When you come to mind, what will they recall? You may regret to find you're yet a man at all. You know it's true. How you gonna handle it? What you gonna do when you point the finger? 3-point back at you. Don't matter what you do. That's just what you do. It matters what you do. Empty promises, empty man. Broken promises, broken man. When you speak, can we depend? Doing for more than just yourself, you then become a man. You know it's true. How you gonna handle it? What you gonna do when you point the finger? 3-point back at you. Pointing back at you. You really, really gotta do something. Talking don't do nothing. It doesn't matter what you know is true. Then it's time to buckle down. What you gonna do? One day you gonna wanna be a man. Yeah. Trust me. You say words won't do these things. It matters what are the words for? 'Cause we're not listening anymore. What are the words for? 'Cause we're not listening. One day you're really gonna wanna be a man. and a man is about his word. Word is bond.
Picking the lock to your hidden thought.
Welcome back to the Hidden Thought. In conclusion, I see people like the table of elements. In the table of elements, you have some elements that have an excessive amount of protons, positive charges. You have some elements that have an excessive amount of electrons, the negative charges. They are far apart from each other. And as you come toward the middle of the table of elements, you have certain elements that are getting closer to a more equal balance of having electrons, protons, and neutrons. Now, I'm no scientist, I'm no chemist. But in life, we see this with people. We see people who are so positive that they ignore everything that's happening in the real world. And it's kind of dangerous to make them acknowledge what's going on in the real world because they're using all of their positive energy and effort to make positive things happen, which is good. But there's no balance there. You know, just the news of something happening in the real world can bring their spirits down. And then you have people with a maximum amount of electrons, negative charges. They are skeptical of everything, highly judgmental, extremely opinionated in a negative way. Nothing that anybody else does is ever any good. Everything sounds like it has to come through their approval in order for it to actually be legitimate. If you listen to them long enough, you will see that only their opinion really matters. And then you have the neutrons, that neutral charge. Those people who have actually found balance between the negative and the positive. They are positive without being delusional, and they recognize the negativity without becoming negative. This is actually our quest through our journey, our trip here on earth, is to be those who find our balance. No one wants to be this negatively perceived person. No one wants to display what is perceived to be negative to other people. It's just that when we find ourselves in those ways, we either find a way to work our way back toward the middle and become a balanced person, or we simply have to have convictions in where we're standing right now. The negatively charged people full of electrons say, I don't care what nobody think about me. And that's one of the biggest lies that we've ever heard in life. Nobody cares what everybody thinks about them. But everybody cares what somebody thinks about them. Because everybody has somebody that they admire. So if the person that we admire admonishes us, we feel like we've arrived. Without having that person's acknowledgement, we sometimes stay on the search, stay on the quest to prove ourselves. There's nothing like getting an endorsement from somebody that we love, honor, and respect. Don't have to be a whole bunch of people, but there's someone for each one of us that we look at and say, man, I would really like to be like that person. On the other hand, those who are so happy-go-lucky that they become delusional, these become people that folks with the maximum amount of electrons use to the positive person's disadvantage. Positive people who have the maximum amount of protons and no balance, the maximum amount of positive charges, no balance, they often allow people with negative charges to use them. And they can see it happening, and they just have no defense for themselves. These people who are full of so much positive charges, who have no defense for self, no desire to defend self, these are the people who today's messages of self-love is actually for. Not for the people that's full of electrons, full of the negative charges. But what happens is the people with the negative charges, they intercept the self-love message today. And they apply more self-love to their already selfish selves and just become more selfish. They become more convinced that them taking from people at the positive person's expense is actually the way that it is supposed to be. Because, hey, the positive person is not stopping them, right? So it must be the way that it's supposed to be. A positive person's, only defense is the neutral people. Someone out of the pack of neutral people always has to step out and defend the people with positive charges from the people with an excessive amount of negative charges. The self-love message today is not for everybody. But it's really tragic when that self-love message lands in the hands of the negatively charged. Kind people have to be taught to defend themselves in order for them to finally have some balance. We are all energy. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to connect to yours, and thank you for being right here with me to uncover your hidden thought.
Today's show has been brought to you by the Black Nova Experience, Qualified to Love, Odie's signing service, and Your Life Back. Wouldn't you like to have your life back? Come again, because we're going in. Thank you for allowing me to bring to the surface your hidden thought.